Welcome back to another video. So I'm gonna just get straight into it. I was reading about the story of the woman who had suffered from bleeding for many years. And what stood out to me and what I really understood in a different way this time was that she was able to identify that she was actually bleeding. Now I know this is physical bleeding, but I had the revelation of how sometimes, including myself, we are internally bleeding. We are broken, we're hurt, we are going through things and we're pushing that on the side. That sometimes we're bleeding and we don't even know it. And that's why sometimes it's really hard for us to actually get better, because we're stuck in a bitter moment, we're stuck in a bitter place and we don't even know it. And sometimes actually being bitter can feel way better and feel much better than trying to get well, or trying to heal, or trying to become a new person. Because I think I've understood that there's a pain of recovery. I know there's pain when you're going through pain, but there's a pain of recovery, that you have to go through something when you're trying to recover, that you also have to understand that either way you're going to go through pain to get better. But that's not the point of the video. There's so many of us and so many people that I've talked to, including myself, that have been bleeding for many years. Church hurt, maybe home hurt, maybe parental hurt, whatever they said might have hurt you, relationship hurt, whatever it is, brokenness, sadness, depression. And we think social media, we think sex, we think the drugs, we think partying, we think living our best life will cater for that or cure it. No, it won't. Those are just coping mechanisms. We need to cure the problem. And being able to understand from this story that the woman had to crawl, she did whatever she could just to touch the robe of Christ. And I think it comes down to identifying that you're broken, that you're hurt, that you're bleeding, and being okay with that, and being able to go to God vulnerable and saying, in a vulnerable way, and saying, okay God, this is who I am, you know what I've gone through, and I'm giving that to you. And I just need you to heal me. The thing is that we try to go to places to heal us, and that's just temporary. Like it's not going to help us. As I'd say, the sex, the drugs, the pornography, whatever, it makes us feel good for a moment, but when you sleep at night, you still have the same problem. The only person and the only thing that can ever fill the void that you have right now, or that you always have, is Christ. The place you go to heal, there's a reason why you go there. There's a reason why you always want to do hookups. There's a reason why you always want to party. There's a reason why you're always trying to get attention. There's a reason why you're always trying to call yourself a baddie. There's a reason why you're always trying to be this person that's well known and you're always lashing out at people. It's not normal. And I think understanding, one thing that has given me the ability to connect with different people is I've understood that if I was broken, if I've been broken, everyone else is broken. And just because you don't know people's stories doesn't mean that they don't have one to tell. And I think that's very important for us to understand as a generation, that everyone has something that they're going through. And if we could all individually just pursue Christ in a way where we say, okay God, this is me, I'm accountable. I put myself in this position sometimes we get into relationships that have nothing to do with God. And where we say, okay God, this is what I did, but I need you to restore that. I need you to rejuvenate, my strength. I need you to restore it. And once you're able to be accountable and, say that to God, God will meet you where you're at. God doesn't shout, God whispers. So, if you really want to get better, let go of being bitter and just allow God to start a new work in you. Bleeding and going through so much. Let me tell on myself. So I grew up in a pastoral home, great parents, but I didn't realize that I had what we call daddy issues, what we call, father problems. I didn't really connect with my dad back then, and what I realized is I coped in so many ways that I didn't know. I think sometimes I coped in the gym. Sometimes I coped with having so many females in my contact list and just, filling that void. Sometimes, I would go to we had gigs back in high school, and that would make me feel good for a moment, but back home, we just go back home and you still have the same thing. I tried to fill it with academics and all these achievements, but it didn't work. All these things will only cater temporarily. That's how I coped, and I just realized that I was going through pain 2 years ago. And I remember that I shut the world out and I probably cried constantly for like 6 months. I would literally go to the gym, lift heavy weights, be like, yeah, and come out of the gym and cry. And not because I was depressed or sad, but because I was letting it go. Because I was allowing God to refine me. So whoever's watching this, allow yourself to bleed, but don't bleed on people that didn't cut you. Bleed on God. Because first of all, God is the only person who will make time for you. He's the only person who will never judge you. And He's the only person that will always accept you for who you are, and He'll always make you better. Just understanding that everyone's got a story to tell, and having grace for people is so important. Just because they look good doesn't necessarily mean that they are or they feel good right now. Everyone's doing something to make themselves feel better. Trust me, I know. And that's what I just wanted to share in this video, that identify where you're bleeding from if you are bleeding. Identify where you're bleeding, why you're bleeding, where the source of your pain and your hurt is coming from. And forgive people that have hurt you. I think one thing you need to understand is just because you forgive them doesn't mean that there has to be reconciliation. It's okay to forgive people and not talk again. I think that's one thing people need to understand, that you don't necessarily have to reconnect with people that you have forgiven. And this goes out to everyone. And I had to learn this recently, actually, because I felt like if you forgive someone, you have to reconcile. That's not how it works. Sometimes you have to let go. So this video was basically about identifying that you have a broken place and a broken piece that God wants to fix. Even I do have broken places that I need God to fix. And it's always good to create a place and room for God, as I said in my last video, that create a room for God. Create a place where you and God